Okay, is it going? I think it's going. Hey everybody. So I wanted to make a really quick video. I've been noticing there's been a lot of comments on YouTube or videos on YouTube from a lot of people that I really like and respect in the community. Uh, Usually talking about just kind of like the state of the game. So that's what I'm kind of here to do. In the background, we're just gonna play a little Iron Banner. Uh, I can even talk about my build a little bit if that's what you feel like. But I want to talk mostly about the state of the game as far as Destiny's concerned. I just checked like YouTube and all that kind of stuff just to kind of see where the general consensus is with people. And I'm not going to try and speak for other people when it comes to this, but I think for the most part, really like where things are at. I know that a lot of people will say, oh, dude, handheld Supernova, or, you know, name X broken thing, Lord of Wolves, or whatever. And yeah, there's some things that are really strong in Sandbox, for whatever reason that they're strong. But I think in general, like terms, for the most part, the game is actually in a great spot. I think we've been getting a lot of really good content, and I know that the Bastion, yeah, I'm gonna go straight to it. I know that the Bastion quest was kind of like a meme to a lot of people in the community. I thought it was fantastic. I thought the puzzle, the community driven, the amount of intensity that was involved with unlocking Bastion for whatever it's worth was fantastic. I thought that the puzzle was clever, intuitive, and that it demanded a lot of effort from the community to unlock it. Whether or not you like the reward that you got from it, that's a different story. I happen to think that when you get puzzles like that, it's really not about the reward, it's about the journey. And I think that Destiny, in particular, is one of those communities and games that thrives when there are those type of communal events. And I think that those type of events in particular are what make Destiny a very special game, is that I know that there are other games out there, but there's no game that has a community that's as interwoven as the Destiny community. And when the game is bad, the entire community comes together to say, hey, we don't like this thing. When the game is good, there's not as much positive feedback for the game, but I think genuinely if you ask a lot of people, hey, is the game in a good spot right now? Those people will tell you, yeah, for the most part, the game is pretty good. And for the most part, if you are a hardcore invested player, there's a lot to do in Destiny. Now, again, I'm not here to say that everything in Destiny is going to be your cup of tea. I play a lot of PvP, and since I just moved over to PC, I have a lot of new things to figure out, like new skills to refresh and all that kind of stuff. Getting used to new weapons. Like in the background, I'm using Lemon Arc and a slug shotgun. I'm on mouse and keyboard. This is the first time I've ever played an FPS game without a controller, so everything that I'm doing is completely new to me. So for me, it's like having an entirely new game. But if you've been on PC for, I don't know, like 3 years, which is about the same lifespan as Destiny 2, maybe you don't have those same type of like micro things that make the game feel new and interactive, and then you're just kind of lumped in with the same type of progression as everybody else. Or if you're specifically a certain type of activity player, right? Like if you specifically only do PvE, or you specifically only do PvP, or you specifically only do Gambit, right? Then the game is a completely different thing. Now, since I'm predominantly a PvP player, I know what it's like to not have really anything going on for your side of the game for a long period of time, because PvP has been kind of a barren wasteland in a lot of ways, comparatively to the rest of the sandbox in terms of like content and all that kind of stuff. We haven't had new maps up until like the last couple of seasons, and even though we had, like pinnacle weapons and things like that and continuous adjustments to comp, there were their own problems that were with the PvP environment for the most part. But PvP happens to benefit greatly from sandbox updates and from additions of weapons from other activities. So PvP is a strange thing to draw a comparison from. You're talking about like what there is to do in the game, because it's one of those activities that draws on a certain type of player that you are, if you like to play against other people or you have a competitive drive. then it's going to be fun for you. Or if you're the kind of player that likes to make builds, PvP is a place where you can have fun with builds and do different things with different weapons and all that kind of stuff. But not everybody likes to play that way. If you play PvE, then you're kind of at the mercy of new activities and new challenges and new events to come out. And I think the general consensus among the hardcore PvE crew is that there's not as much to do this season. But from my perspective, I thought this season was fantastic. Even though the Sundial might have been a bit of a mundane activity, we still had the Corridors of Time. Those highly interactive and highly engaging community puzzles are fantastic for diversity of the game, which I think is one of the biggest selling points for Destiny as a game and as a community-based driven MMORPG, is that there are large community events that kind of come out of nowhere, and there are these deep, highly integrated secrets that don't really have anything to do with the guns that you have or anything like that. It's or the build that you have. It's more about who you are as a person and what you offer, or whether you enjoy spending time with certain communities and things like that. It's a really good way to add another layer to the cake that is Destiny 2. And I think Destiny is one of those games that encompasses a lot of different areas, and I think it's one of those games that you can pick up and then find something that you enjoy in it. Okay, so you don't just have to be PvP or PvE or Gambit or whatever. There's something in Destiny for everyone. Now, as far as like state of the game, I do think that Destiny is probably in the best spot that it's been in a long time. I think the Season Pass is actually a pretty good way to model the game for the most part. I'm not against it. I think it works pretty well. I think it gives people a seasonal grind to attain. And I also am in favor of having these seasonal weapons. And a lot of people might, quote FOMO or fear of missing out, all that kind of stuff. I'm shaking my head in the background because that guy should have killed me in the air. I missed his snipe and I got lucky. Shouldn't have survived that. Anyways, but I think a lot of people have FOMO because either they don't have enough time to get in and grind out a couple of the activities that allow you to get to things like God roll, line in the sand or whatever, or to get their season pass high enough to get to the point where they can get a line in the sand or something, whichever seasonal God roll it is that's going to rotate out. And I understand that, but Destiny is definitely a game that has a large hardcore player base, and the majority of players that play this game play it from a hardcore perspective and play it with a lot of investment, which means it's usually their only game or it's a main game. And if you're the kind of person that has FOMO about missing out on getting a God roll weapon, you're probably not playing the game to the same extent that other people are playing. So I would say that the seasonal rewards are really good. And then also, on top of that, you're not going to miss out on anything because you don't have a God roll line in the sand. And the reason for that is because you could just use something like Whisper of the Worm, or you could use Izanagi's Burden. Those are all accessible weapons that you can pick up, and they will be better than a God roll line in the sand. So it doesn't matter what seasonal weapon really comes out, they're weapons that you can get and chase and will be good if you have the right application for them, or if you're interested in creating a build around them. They're not going to be the end-all be-all of the upper echelon of PvE items or PvP items for the most part. A lot of those weapons have already existed and are still attainable in the sandbox, like Recluse, for example, right? There's no FOMO with Recluse. You can go play comp anytime at 2100 and then unlock the Recluse, if that's something that you haven't done yet. And Recluse will probably be arguably the best SMG in the sandbox, still, even in its nerfed form, compared to anything else that you can get from anywhere else. In PvE or in PvP, the Recluse is still going to be better than anything else that you can equip. It's the same thing for Revoker. If you play PvP, you're not going to get a better sniper than Revoker, because it's just the best. It gives you free ammo. You can pick that up at any time. There's no seasonal weapon that's going to come around and replace those pinnacle weapons or outdo those pinnacle weapons. And that's why, for a long time, the community was saying these weapons are too good, and that's basically why Bungie steered away from them, is because of the amount of complaints that were driven from how good the pinnacle weapons were, is because they were undermining the rest of the sandbox. So we do have new perks on these seasonal weapons. We have ways to grind out new roles on them and to grind them out in an efficient way, which I think is a really nice nod to the community. They've made it really easy to get a hold of these weapons, but I don't think that there should be any FOMO when it comes to the season pass or to anything that's going on in Destiny 2 in general. I think, again, like I said, Destiny 2 is in the best spot that it's been in. I think I'd like to see Bungie just continue at the pace that they're at, so long as it's sustainable. And I like what they're doing and why they're doing it. I think Bungie's hit their stride. I know they've got a lot of other things on the table, but I think they're doing a good job with their game currently, and I, as a customer, am pretty satisfied with what I'm getting. I don't really have any complaints with the way the Destiny 2 is.